Urska, a powerful behemoth that resides within the Frost escalation. Using its environment to its fullest, Urska can be quite difficult to take down. So today, we'll be learning how to take down Urska in this week's Behemoth Breakdown. To start, let me go over a few things about this behemoth before I go into details about its moveset. Urska, as we all know, is a very mobile behemoth, which makes this behemoth rather difficult to chase and at times hard to reach. Using perks such as Sprinter or Swift definitely makes it easier to stick to the behemoth, and if you'd rather not sacrifice some of the perks for mobility, the Shrike Lantern works just fine. And if you have any spare talent points, Zeiss maneuvers will also help out as well. Other things you'll have to worry about in this fight is your frostbite meter, which I'm sure most of you are aware of the dangers of being frostbitten. So I highly suggest holding on to your cleansing pylons until you reach Urska to reduce the risk of being frostbitten during the fight. And to further lower the chances, make sure you put points into the insulated gears and into the warm-blooded passives, which can be found in the Frost Escalation talent tree. Believe me, they help a lot. Next, we have Urska's Enraged state, which is just like most enraged states you'll encounter in the game, but unlike its enraged state, the Aether Charge state is quite unique. So, the way the behemoth enters this state, Urska will bolt away from the Slayers and release a powerful roar that can blow Slayers away. Shortly after, ice will form around its face and the state will be complete, which will give the behemoth access to new moves. One more tip before moving on to the moveset is right before Urska jumps down into the area, you can position yourself around this spot to quickly get a few hits in on the part you wish to attack. And if you happen to have Malkarion or Thrax's legendary ability, you can get up on Urska's perch and deal damage before the behemoth jumps down. Alright, onto the moveset, here's the moves you'll need to watch out for when you hunt Urska. Holding a paw up, Urska will swipe and hit those nearby. It does have a decent radius, allowing it to hit even those on the side of the behemoth. Luckily, the wind-up time before it swings is fairly long, so take your time and prepare to dodge if you're within range. Used during its Aether Charge state, the behemoth will briefly stand on its hind legs before charging at full speed and knocking over Slayers that cross its path. This move can be used multiple times in a row, but it can also be interruptible, allowing you to topple the behemoth over and leave Urska exposed for a short time. Quickly lowering its body and then spinning around, a Slayer hit by this move will be swept up into the air and then slammed back into the ground with its tail, which will down most Slayers without a ton of resistance or shield. To avoid it, dodge right when the behemoth moves after lowering its body. Taking a few steps back, the behemoth will stand on its hind legs for a split second, drop back down, and release a roar powerful enough to blow Slayers away. It's commonly used during its Aether Charge state, and the move damage-wise is completely harmless. However, there have been cases where it can prevent or push Slayers out of the Brazer's warmth, which causes some unfortunate Slayers to freeze and fail the hunt. So a good way to prevent yourself from getting thrown too far from the roar is to quickly stick close to the behemoth and stay away from the head. Raising its tail up, Urska will pierce the ground with its tail, potentially spawning an ice spike from the ground. This move is rather deadly regardless if you're struck by the tail or by the spike. The tail itself is rather easy to avoid so long as you put some distance as the behemoth begins to set up for this move. But be aware of the spike since it's capable of predicting your movements, so pay close attention to the ground to avoid running into the deadly spike. As Urska points its tail forward, ice will shift to the end of its tail and fire a chunk of ice at the Slayers in front of the behemoth. The timing for this move is a little tricky since you have to dodge just before all the small shards reach the end of its tail. If that's not your playstyle, you can step out of its range or use the sound effects for this move to gauge it as well. Jumping up and hanging on an icicle, Urska will grab part of the icicle and throw shards of it at the Slayers. This move overall is fairly accurate, so players with little to no movement speed might need to dodge to avoid this attack. If you want to figure out where Urska is going to land after using this move, watch where the behemoth is looking to get a general idea in the direction it's going to land. Once the behemoth lands, there is a chance it will cause the ice to fall from the ceiling. As an aura forms around one of Urska's paws, the behemoth will leap back and chuck a large ice crystal at the targeted player. This move gives plenty of warning and the crystal's velocity is on the slower side. If you're having trouble dodging this attack, make sure you look up at the behemoth so you can get a better idea when to dodge this move. Jumping up into the air, the behemoth will create a large ice crystal and smash it into the ground. This attack is very similar to the previous move I just shown, but what gives this move away is the aura that surrounds the spot Urska will be making its impact. You'll want to dodge right when you see the aura or listen for the higher pitches of the sound effects that this move makes. Creating a sheet of ice beneath its body, the ice will begin to crack before rising up and exploding. This move can freeze your Slayer, so if you're within range, you'll want to dodge right when the pieces of ice become completely airborne. In Aether Charge State move, Urska will bang the ground 3 times, causing the icicles to fall from the ceiling. Pay close attention to where the debris is so you know where each piece will be making an impact. Another thing this move does is spawn a mounting vent. And speaking of mounting vents, while mounted, the Behemoth will eventually try to knock the player off by rolling over, which will throw shards of ice. Overall, this is a very easy move to avoid. Once Urska is around half of its health, the Behemoth will leap onto a massive ice crystal and force it to drop down to create a massive wave that will take down most Slayers unable to avoid it. For those trying to stick close to Urska, the Behemoth will land next to this brazier every time this icicle drops. Alright, that should cover everything you'll need to know about this Behemoth. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you in Dauntless.